So you're thinking about making a move to Utah, but you're not 100% sure yet, and you've heard some different things about things that you definitely want to avoid. Well, stick with me today because today I'm going to be sharing with you my top 10 reasons why you want to avoid Utah and Salt Lake City altogether if you cannot handle these 10 things. And we're going to hop into it right now. Mariah here. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if this is your very first time here. I'm a licensed and active real estate agent here in Utah. And if you want to know everything there is about eating, working, playing, sleeping, and living here in the Salt Lake City, Utah area, feel free to subscribe and make sure you tap that bell for notifications so that you are notified every week we drop a new video. We hear from people like you all the time who are looking to relocate, looking to move here to Utah, or even to buy or sell a home here in Utah, and we absolutely love it. So if you're thinking about making a move in a week, in a month, or even a year from now, feel free to give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email, and it would be our absolute pleasure to connect with you. Okay, so I have had so many people reach out recently asking me, hey Mariah, we're thinking about moving to Utah, but we're not totally sure because we keep hearing these different things. And we want to just make sure we are right about these because that could either be a deal breaker or it may be, we're totally fine with it. So first of all, number one, avoid moving to Utah if you cannot handle the snow. Yes, you can see it is snowy. We are right in the middle of winter right now. But the snow is something here to be reckoned with here in Utah. And it can be extreme temperatures. You can see today, it's, normally on a winter day like this, it's still sunny. There's snow on the ground. My kids were building snowmen earlier this week. But if you can't handle the snow, Utah may not be the best fit for you simply because there is snow. Going along with the snow is the extreme weather. Number two is really the heat. Summers here in Utah are going to be a lot warmer than other places. We're not talking Arizona heat, but we are talking dry desert heat where you can get up to, mid 90s during summer days. Every once in a while it hits 100, but it is going to be that dry hot. And you're going to have some extreme temperatures, really. So you're going to have winters that look like this. You're going to have summers that can be very hot. Kind of going back to some of the winters, number three is just that inversion that you've heard about. I'm sure you've heard about it many times here, but Utah, especially in Salt Lake City, because of the way that valley is shaped, smog ends up coming into that Salt Lake City, Utah valley, and it sits there. It usually comes in when there's a storm, and it usually blows out when there's a storm too. So if, in terms of like that inversion, that smog, if you have really bad asthma, if you have health conditions, sometimes that can really flare up during those really smoggy inversion days. But again, it usually only lasts a couple of days and then it blows right out. So top three are really weather to begin with. Extreme, you've got the snow in the winter, you've got the extreme temperatures in the summer. I know for us personally, though, we love going to the pond and the reservoirs and the lakes and all those kind of things. So we throw our kayaks and our paddle boards in our car and the kids play in the lakes and the ponds and all of that. And so it really just depends on what you're looking for. And then, like I said, that inversion that can get trapped here in the Salt Lake Valley. So those are the top, those are the first three. Moving right along to number four is going to be the housing. Yes, the housing and the expenses with housing. Over the last 3 years here in Utah, we have seen a 60% increase. Yes, a 60% increase just in the price of housing. So the affordability here in Utah in terms of housing has pushed some people out of the game just because they're like, oh my goodness, like this used to be affordable. It's not anymore for my situation. But for some people that are moving here from out of state, they're like, oh man, this is actually still within the budget. This is still where we want to be. We don't mind the snow. We don't mind the heat. And the affordability in terms of housing for them is okay. Moving right along, for the next one, going along with housing is just going to be the limited housing that is actually right down in Salt Lake City. There are not a lot of housing options right in Salt Lake City. Yes, when you go, to the suburbs and whatnot, you're going to find lots of different housing options, but immediate housing right within the city is limited. So keep that in the back of your mind also if you're thinking, hey, you know what, I just took a position right in Salt Lake City. You're going to probably end up wanting to live somewhere on, the surrounding areas of Salt Lake. Number 6, you may want to avoid Utah if you don't like large open spaces. Yes, a lot of things, different communities, you'll drive for miles and miles and miles, and you'll see lots of farmland in between some communities. And some people are like, you know what? I actually love more of the city life. I want more of the hustle and bustle as opposed to some of the, more country, more rural sort of feel. So for some, they're like, oh, sign me up for this all day. For others, people are like, you know what? I like more of that urban, more of the city life as opposed to a lot more open spaces. So keep that in mind as well. Number 7 is the flat tax rate. Yes, the flat tax rate here in Utah. Again, avoid if that's not something that you like. For many people coming here to Utah, they actually love the flat tax rate, which is 4.85%. So in some states, they have, gradual tax scales just depending on how much you are making. So if you are making a certain amount, you're going to pay a certain amount. Here in Utah, everybody pays the same. In some states, they don't have an income tax or a state tax or this, that. Here in Utah, it is that straight across 4.85%. Again, some people love it, some people do not. So just also know, for some, that's a deal breaker. Number 8, moving right along, is there's no ocean here in Utah. Yes, there's no ocean here in Utah. And I know I've got a lot of Californians that have reached out. I myself was from California, and I remember when we moved here, I was like, dang it, there's not a beach. Like I want that salty air and all of that. And just going to the beach is kind of that nice grounded centering feeling. But Utah doesn't have a beach, but we do have a lot of lakes. We do have a lot of like reservoirs. We've got a lot of ponds and streams and different things nearby too. So, and a lot of fabulous waterfalls that are incredible for hiking. So no beach, but we trade the beach for gorgeous mountains, great skiing, and the reservoirs and the lakes and the streams and all that is involved here in Utah. Number 9, avoid Utah if you cannot handle the stereotype. Yes, there is a certain stereotype that for whatever reason, I remember when we moved here a few years ago, people were always like, oh, there was always like this stereotype of Utah of what people thought it was like living here. And it's actually been very different than what we thought life was going to be like here in Utah. So the stereotypes that some people have of the people that live here, the jobs, the weather, all those different things, a lot of them are, let me let you in a pro tip, a lot of them are just that. They really are just stereotypes. I remember when my family and we had taken a trip to Jackson Hole, and Jackson Hole is really only about 4.5 hours away from here in Utah. And I remember driving up there, and we had just moved here from California, and I was buying some groceries with the family, and somebody had said, hey, where do you live? And I said, California. And then I was like, wait, no, I don't live in California anymore. I'm like, oh, I live in Utah. And instantly there was like this, oh, you live in Utah. Again, it's just kind of that stereotype. And now I just embrace it. I'm like, I am from Utah. I love Utah. And for my family and I, it has been such a fabulous fit. And we absolutely love it here. But just be aware of the stereotype. And number 10, avoid Utah if you cannot handle the roads and the numbering system. Some people, when they move here to Utah and they're trying to get used to the roads, Utah is on a numbering and a grid system. For some people, they're like, wait, a what? And I said, yes, a grid system. Yes, a numbering system. So somebody might say, yeah, I live on 6,000 north and I live on, 100 west, or I hit whatever. Basically, that grid system starts from that main street or the center street within each city. Most of the cities have the grid system. Most of them have the numbering system. And basically it starts from that one point. And if you go north a block, it's going to be, you're going north 100. If you are going south a block, you're going south 100. And the same thing for east and west and so forth. So if you go 2 blocks, you're going to be 200 north, or 3 blocks, 300 north. Same thing that goes for everything else. Again, some people absolutely are like, this is the easiest. Like if everything could just be numbered on the grid system, life would be so much easier. But for some people coming here, they're like, I have no idea where you're living. I went to the east side, but I'm really supposed to be on the west side. And some people get a little messed up with that. Thank goodness we all have, most of us at least, have our GPS, because what would we do without that? So hopefully this gives you a snapshot of some of those things to avoid if you are kind of on the fence of Utah and you're like, I can't do the snow. Utah might be not the right fit for you. I can't do the heat, or, the inversion, or all these different things. But if you're thinking, I can't wait to get in the snow. I actually just had a phone call with somebody that is moving here, relocating here from out of state, and they were saying, they're like, oh, like my family and I, we cannot wait to go skiing. We cannot wait to go snowboarding. Like we are so excited to, pick up and move and be here in a different climate. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of an idea of things to avoid. Avoid Utah if you can't handle these things, but otherwise come on over. Feel free. If you are thinking about moving here, you are thinking about relocating, my team and I love helping people just like you. And if you're thinking about moving in a week, in a month, or even a year from now, feel free to give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email, and it would be our absolute pleasure to connect with you. Take care and have a great one. Bye.